Hey everybody, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I'm your host Vlhadus, and I just want to say thank you for everybody that's continuing to watch these 1v1s. I really love doing them. I think they've actually grown in a little bit of popularity. You know, it's actually easier to get in touch with certain content creators and just certain people that want to get on into the show. And if you're interested, like I said, I have the Discord or my Discord information in the description of the video. You can always feel free just to message me on Discord, add me as a friend. I'd love to have a conversation with you. But for right now, we actually have a great AOC content creator on our hands here, and his name is Azrial. How's it going, bro?
It's going good, mate. I do like your stream nerdling set up there. I would do that. Is a really nice background drop there. I do like it a lot. I've got to say, in my house, I've got this little corner that my missus has put me into, so I don't have a full room. It's just this little gaming corner. But it does for me, mate. It's my little hideaway. So.
Oh, that's awesome, man. My wife and me, we've created this kind of game room for both of us. I mean, because we're huge fans of anime. If you look at her desk, she has all these little Baby Yoda things and little chibi things for anime and stuff. So it's really nice the fact that all my friends are jealous, because my friends are like, bro, I can't, like he said, I have like a nook, or I have like a corner, yeah. You know, and they come to my house, they see all this anime stuff all over our house, and then they're just like, you see, why can't we have this too? You know, it's always so funny. But
we're moving next year, like, so I'm thinking if we can get another bedroom, that'll be the nerd station for definitely.
Oh, for sure. So Azrial, like, I just want to like talk to you because we've had a little bit of conversations before. Yeah. We've talked, you know, but I want to get into, like, first of all, like your MMO history, like what started you down the path of playing MMOs, and so we'll just start there.
I don't know. I think before even MMOs, it was like I wasn't an online player. I didn't go on the internet. It was always offline games. So it was like Final Fantasies. I was obsessed. Like Final Fantasy X was completed 5 or 6 times, mate. I just went through it. I loved it. Yeah, but I was quite social when I was younger, so I didn't like play a lot of online games or MMOs. But then my first MMO, I don't know, it's terrible to say, and the one I loved the most was probably RuneScape. I don't know, like, the graphics and stuff, but it was immense. Like, it was so different. And when I dipped into that, I thought, the PKing as well, like, I like my PvP. I got lynched, like, so much. I wasn't very good. The guys were just better than me. But RuneScape was the one thing I really got into. I know you play a lot of WoW. I tried to get into WoW. My missus was quite into WoW, but I don't know, man. When I got in there, I felt lost. There was so much shit, and I was so far behind. I didn't know where to start. So, yeah, RuneScape was my main one. Final Fantasy 14, I really liked. I like playing through it, but I will say it felt like not as social to me. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I played it with missus, even when I got some of the guild involved. In comparison to some of the other games we played, it just didn't feel like. I can't even think of when we had to get involved with other people too much. Obviously, like, we've done the dungeons and raids, but it was, I don't know, man, it wasn't for me. So I would say RuneScape was my first thing to really get into, and that I absolutely loved. I tried to go back into it a few years later, but no, it just wasn't the same. It was nostalgia driven.
Right, and so I've never played like old school RuneScape or RuneScape in general, but it seems to me that game has definitely the components to create community, that create the need to interact with people. Is that correct? Like, do you find that to be something that?
Yeah, definitely. So when I would walk around, it wasn't like the chat was always popping. Like, there was always crazy stuff going on and bizarre stuff. But yeah, you just randomly talk to folk. And they just talk back. It wasn't even out of the like normal. It was just you talk, people would chat back. You'd have good crack with folk, and it could be about anything. Could be about trading. Could be just taking the piss out of each other. Just anything at all. And it just constantly had these different interactions. And obviously, it's got nothing on what Ashes and other games would be like. But back then, for me, that was like, it was mind blowing. It was totally different than anything I'd experienced. And being that I had never really played online too much, to jump into something like that. And I think it was Alfred I used to go. It was a desert zone. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was farming down there and just chilling, and it was really good, man. I really enjoyed it.
Right. And I know like usually like with MMOs, like I think the one thing that's been a very big disdain in the MMO community lately is that all the MMOs just feel like single player games. And even if you are like in a game like Final Fantasy 14, if you're not doing role play, it still very much feels like a single player game. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's a still single player component to it, but then there's also like other things that you can do. But if you aren't doing those other things, you pretty much are going to be in a single player experience. And I'm not against playing by yourself. I'm not against you just
No,
chilling,
definitely not.
drinking a cup of coffee, drinking some tea, and just chilling out, vegging out, and playing a game by yourself. However, if that's all the game can offer, and there's really no reason to ever invite people or to do everything, the answer is always, well, just do it by yourself. It's more efficient to do so. Then you created a shit MMO in my experience. And that's what, in my opinion, like a lot of MMOs have gotten to, and why I'm very much hopeful for Ashes of Creation, because it very much is a game that is going to be group inspired. Like there's going to be a lot of things you need
Yeah.
people for. You can't do everything by yourself. You're going to be able to do some things, but not everything.
Well,
So,
I
go ahead.
agree, mate. I agree 100%. Like, so it was like, obviously, it's an offline game. Playing Final Fantasy, say, go for example, 10. I was super immersed, mate. Like, sitting there, like you're saying, just having
Oh,
a
me
munch,
too.
having a cuppa, just chilling and enjoying it. But then when I went into Final Fantasy 14, I didn't have any real expectations of it. But it was that. It just felt like it was a game. And I know everyone's saying it, but it's true, man. It's like it was a game. And I'm not bashing Final Fantasy 14. The story on that game is fucking immense. Like,
Oh,
hands
dude,
down, it's
yeah.
the best MMO story. But it is like a game where you're playing on your own, where other people are. There's no real. I didn't ever speak to anyone in world chat. There was no voice chat that I spoke to anyone. I didn't
Right.
ever need to jump into parties or communicate. And I could solely go through that. And I did, and we did. And even when we went in and we were like, wonder what we can do as a guild, and coming from games where we played like games that really need communication, there was
Right.
none there, and we do play it, and some of us still do it to this day. But it's not like an everyday thing. Some of the game, like for example Ashes, I can imagine we'll be on that all the time, consistently playing.
Right.
But I could dip away from Final Fantasy for months and it wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't really have the need to be like, I want to go on and communicate. It'd be like, I'd do this part of the story. I was going on to learn the story, get involved in that stuff. It wasn't going on to be like a massive multiplayer game. Every time I went on, I wouldn't even say to my mate, "Oh, I'm jumping on Final Fantasy," because I wanted to do the story in my own little box. Do you know what I mean? Tech it
Right.
all in. And that's not an MMO. Like, obviously, it is an MMO, but not the MMO I want to be playing and really get
Right.
immersed in.
And I think it is, I think that's that way for a lot of people, you know what I mean? And like I said, I bought Endwalker. I have not played Endwalker in its entirety yet. I'm waiting for the final patch of
Yes.
that expansion so I can just play it all the way through, because that's how I played Shadowbringers, and it was freaking amazing. And I cried like crazy during that. It was just so cool. Like all the different cutscenes and just the feeling of when you have a character and you get to know a character, and then you see the evolution of that character. It pays off so well in Final Fantasy. And that's what I would love. Like if any other MMO developer can look at Final Fantasy as a story, to say that this is how to properly tell a story in a narrative,
Yeah.
dude, yes, do that. Because I don't really feel like a lot of other games do that well at all. Like you look at WoW, Guild Wars 2, ESO, I don't think they really do storytelling in a very grand way the way Final Fantasy does. And it can be done in that way. I just think it's very hard to. You need a team that knows what they're doing. And honestly, I mean, just being, me being a WoW Andy for so long, I don't think they know what they're doing anymore. I don't think they've known what they're
No.
doing for a long time. So,
I feel like even Intrepid, because as you know, I'm fanboying of an Intrepid. If they do anything wrong, I'll
right.
call them out on it. But
Right.
even with someone as Intrepid doing everything right, I don't think they could possibly lock down a story and have the game. Maybe I'm like just not too optimistic about it. I don't know if an MMO can really have that level of Final Fantasy story and the immersive gameplay elements. It's so hard to get both of them. Do you know what I mean? Because Final
It's
Fantasy
true.
is it's another level,
It
and
is.
it's like it's about finding the balance. And with Stephen being a proper, he seems like a law geek. He's well into that stuff. I hope they can find the balance, but whether or not at the minute, I don't think it'll be. I hope the story's immense. So far, like reading the lore and getting into it, this shit's crazy. Like, it's got me hyped for it, but I don't know if they'll bring that Final Fantasy level. Maybe they will, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if it's even achievable with how much systems and the other shit they've got going on in the game. It's so mad, man. It's crazy.
No, I agree. And again, I just think it's up to the level, right? That because
Yeah.
Steven always talks very passionately about the lore and doesn't want to give anything away. If Ashes wasn't going to be a very story-driven MMO, I don't think Steven would care, personally.
Yeah.
But he
I
cares
agree.
so deeply. So to me, I think it is going to be maybe at a foundational A Realm Reborn level. Because again,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy didn't get to the Endwalker stage on day one. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You had fails.
Right.
On fails, mate, and you have to take its time to get there, and hopefully
Right.
they
I mean,
can do the same.
and again, I think it's just a matter of trial and error. But as long as they can put a proper narrative foundation that can be built upon, the same way Final Fantasy did.
Yeah.
That's all I think people are asking for. Because I'm not going to compare Ashes of Creation to Endwalker. I'm going to compare Ashes of Creation to A Realm Reborn. Right? How they started, just like how WoW started. You know, and WoW started very differently compared to Final Fantasy 14, right? But I think even then, World of Warcraft still had a very passionate lore player base. So I'm not saying that one's better than the other, but I think what people are looking for is investment. I think that's like the best word I can describe, is that people want to feel invested in the story. They want to feel invested in the world. And whenever the world is just a grind location, you've lost. Like you're done.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
and I think Steven is going to do something very cool with how they're going to tell the story, especially with how node development's going to be. I think it's going to be actually kind of awesome. And again, I'm not saying that they need to copy Final Fantasy 14 verbatim in how they do the MSQ, but what I am saying is that you do need to offer, I think, a little bit more than what World of Warcraft did even way back in the day. There needs to actually be a story to follow, characters to actually invest in. It can't just be this Indiana Jones way of finding lore out in the world, and then you found it, right? And because you found it, you know what that is now, but no one else knows because maybe you're the only one who found it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a proper way to tell an overall story, especially a main story. I think that's a great way to tell like side stories or like nugget Easter egg stories that it's like, oh damn, did you know that this main character had a sister, and this sister, you know, bewitched an entire village and had him enslaved and da-da-da-da. That's cool to have like those lore nuggets like off to the side. But as far as the actual main story that Intrepid wants to tell for Ashes of Creation, it needs to be front and center. And it needs to be like, I'm not saying it needs to have like cinematics and all these crazy things, but I
would like to see that though, mate. That's
Oh,
the
no,
thing they've
me
said.
too.
I would love it, man. Because I know they had said, I'm pretty sure Steven said he wasn't wanting to be too heavy on the cinematics.
Right.
But even in-game cinematics, mate, that would be immense to see. Like,
I agree.
think it draws in people when, for example, there's a trailer. I don't know if it's representing Guild Wars, but you know where he's running through, and I think it's a rogue, and he's shooting the arrows, and that I use it a lot in my videos.
Right.
That shit was awesome. That was 4 or 5 years ago. Now I watch that now, and I think that's really cool. That would draw me in. So if they can do something on that level, I know Blizzard's, you know, cinematics, they're immense, and ESO, like I don't play the game much. I know it gets some heat, but their cinematics are crazy. And then you look towards, is it Star Wars?
The Old Republic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their cinematics. I don't play the game. I never played it, but my missus showed us a trailer, and I was like, holy shit. Like if Ashes wasn't coming, that would have me wanting to get involved in the lore. So I hope they don't just like ignore that. I hope they do invest just a little bit of money or something to the side, or get some, you know, some of the devs working on something just for the launch of it, you know, and down the line. I think it's a good thing to draw people in.
Right.
But it's whether or not we see it.
Well, I do think that they're going to have like a huge cinematic for like the start of the game. And I would honestly even be okay if they just did, like you said, in-game cinematics. Hell, we're dealing with Unreal Engine 5. We don't really need like high-end graphical Weta Studio cinematics. I'll be totally fine with just in-game stuff. And even Final Fantasy does that, I think, very well now. Like their in-game cinematics, which is just like the way the in-game rendering works. I'm totally fine with that. The mouth flapping and you know, even when it's not all voice acted, I'm still totally fine with it. It has character interaction and has your character, the other characters all interacting together. That is important. And especially in a game like Ashes of Creation, I think it's gonna be very, very important. But I think overall, like, I think Steven just wants to keep certain things close to the chest. I think he doesn't want to
Yeah,
reveal too much.
I
And
think the server one,
right.
definitely.
And you're totally right. Like, there are so many things that Ash's creation is doing. It's freaking insane. And you just came out, and I was so mad. I was like, because you came out with the video about the naval stuff, and I was like, damn it, I would have loved to have.
Oh yeah, I've just dropped that. Yeah, no.
I know you literally just dropped it. I was like, I can't watch it. So let's talk a little bit about naval stuff, because I don't even know what's in your video. I'm gonna watch it. But so naval to me is a very tricky subject for me personally, because I came from World of Warcraft where there is no naval system at all to deal with. I don't know what I even want from a naval system. And I've seen stuff from like Arcade, I've seen stuff from Lineage 2, I've seen stuff from like BDO. I guess my question to you is like, why are you particularly excited for the naval system?
So I come from survival games as well. I mainly played survival. Like there's a game called Atlas, for example. That was my first experience with naval content, and honestly, mate, some of the PvP and I'd never done it before, and I didn't have any interest in it. And when I started doing it, I thought, shit, this is so interesting. Building the ships, being a pilot, getting out there, the PvP. And from the outside looking in, you don't see how sophisticated it is from, just watching the videos. When you're in there, it's so different.
Right.
And then obviously I didn't play Arcade, so I can't really speak too much on the naval combat. But if I could see some, I know it's going to be more like Arcade, probably.
Right.
It's just, I think it's class, mate. You've got to think, you've got all the wars going on land. But say you've got a coastal node. Now, I know it's speculation, we don't know. But sieging is going to be awesome. But if you have to siege a node that's on the coast of the island, and you can't just go on land, say you have to have these mad ship battles, you're fighting to push inland because they, zone of influence into the water. And then from that, your next objectives getting onto the land and pushing on the node. It just brings a different dynamic to the game. And also you've got what's the class called? I've just done the video, I should know this, mate. Like the mayoral classes, yeah. So you can have a certain class that can maybe fix the planks or the deck, and like your ship sinking.
I think it's like the worksman or whatever, like
seamanship, I think it was called.
Yeah,
there's 3 different names they're using. I don't think they're the proper names. It's like speculation,
right?
But I just think that's awesome, mate, because you could be, for example, going on land, you get to a coast, then you want to go to, say, on the left side, there's a little island that basically is England. I think it's the tropics on the map, but it looks exactly like England. You want to go over there, then you get on your ship. You might have all these resources. You might have spent a lot of time. The world's massive.
Right.
You then have to survive that. You need to not get sunk. You need to get to that next destination. The risk versus reward that it brings into it's just totally different. And I've never experienced that. So that's what draws me in. And it's just like making the game a simulation. You're making it totally immersive. There's so much shit going on. It's crazy, man. So that's my draw to it. Like the PvP and obviously the raid boss.
Right.
That looks awesome. But yeah, just all that type of stuff, mate. But you can't say too much on it because we don't know a lot. So that's why I've done the video. But there's a lot of speculation in the video till we find out more. And obviously it was a Kickstarter goal, so I know we're going to see 3 ships in Alpha 2. But how much are we really going to see? I imagine a bit, but I don't really know.
I mean, to be totally honest, the one thing that still blows me away is just the way the water is in Unreal Engine 5. Oh my God. It looks completely just jaw-dropping. Like the way the water physics are and how realistic with the foam and the white and the water or the sun reflection. You put that, of course, with like this amazing ship. I mean, it's literally going to be like Sea of Thieves, but just in way better graphics. And I know in Lost Ark that I played, there are a couple of like sea things that I saw that was like interesting. Like there's certain like you get to an area, right, and it shows on the map as you're sailing that it's like if you go to this area, you're going to be slowed down because there's like like not oil, but like a certain there's like something in the water that slows down your ship, or you get to this poison mist to where it basically starts eroding your ship slowly. So if you're staying in that area, like you don't want to stay in there too long. Like, so there's all these different things that Intrepid could actually do that other games have been doing probably for a long time, but that was very new to me. And then you also just put PvP sprinkled on top of all of that stuff, right? Like to
And
me,
high definition.
oh dude, yeah, in high definition with like world bosses like krakens, squid monsters, freaking ghost pirate ships. I mean, whatever they want to do, I don't really care. I mean, my whole thing is that I just want whatever they do for the naval stuff to be engaging and fun, because I think for the most part, like, I don't know how like the destruction of a ship is going to happen, because the way Steven talks about it, it's like you get blown up to smithereens. Well, you're just left in the water. I don't think that's actually fun. Yeah. I mean, personally, I mean, it sounds cool if you did that to someone else, but when it happens to yourself, I don't think that's gonna be very fun. You know what I mean? So it
do. Depends. Sorry, mate. Go on.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
It depends how resource heavy it is. You've got to think like,
true.
If we've put shitloads of effort into this, say months of work, and you lose it all, and you can't really get back, or you can grab the stuff, because obviously in caravans you can grab bits and bobs of the stuff you've created.
Right.
But it's totally different at sea, because you can get that stuff off a caravan and get back to a node. But when you're arse end of nowhere, even if you can get this stuff, how do you get back? Like Steven's reply was basically just kill yourself in the water, just let yourself die.
I know.
So it's like, if it's a month or 2 months worth of craft, then that's a bit of a ball ache. I think it's too intense. But if they're easy attainable, and it's a little bit of a loss, and it's not too heavy, that's the balancing thing though, isn't it, mate? They're really going to have to balance that. How much are we going to lose? How much of a ball ache? Because if it's too difficult and you lose too much, I'm up for like losing, and I come from games like Ark, you can lose everything so fast, that years of work so fast. But on a game like this with so many systems, I think they need to balance it, and if it's too harsh, people won't go out to the sea, mate. People won't risk it, and then you're basically cutting off content to a game. So if no one's out there, it's kind of going to ruin it. But I feel like Steven knows this stuff, but that's what Alpha 2 is going to be. We're going to have to test this, mate. There's going to have to be people complaining, people saying, actually, this is too intense. I have faith that they're going to balance it right, and I'm hoping they do. But it's just going to take time, isn't it, mate?
I think so. I mean, it's just one of those things where the things that I think are kind of like, okay, it's not too hardcore, it's not too casual, like I think are just in the middle, and then people are all like, no, that's way too hardcore. It's just like, well, because again, I kind of vision Ash as a creation to be a semi-hardcore game, because if you were to take the extreme, which in my opinion was, let's say, WildStar, and WildStar failed after 2 years because it was too hardcore. There was just too many hardcore things about the game that people just didn't play it. And it was great for the people that were playing it because it catered to them very well. But again, if it's only catering to 1% or 3% of the population, it's not going to be feasible for survival. Like, it's not going to be a game that's going to last 10 or 15 years. So I do think of a game like WoW or Final Fantasy, which in my opinion is way too casual. And then I think of a game like WildStar, and I think we need to be somewhere in the middle, because again, I think Ashes regardless is going to rub people the wrong way, because I think there's a lot of people that are very much used to kid gloves. They're very much used to getting participation trophies. They're very much used to like never dying. They're very much used to a whole lot of things that, again, a lot of MMOs do nowadays that Ashes is not going to do, right? Like, this game is going to be PvP. Like, you can't opt out of it. And I think a lot of people just in that one feature don't like. But again, it's how we're going to not say police that feature, but I also think that people just see PvP and they don't think of the corruption system or even know what the corruption system is. So, I mean, and again, it's those kinds of ebbs and flows, you know, like, again, because if Ashes just had PvP with no corruption system, I probably would not be playing Ash as a creation.
No, I think even for me, so going back to what you said there about sometimes being too intense.
Right.
I played Ark Survival Evolved, and I got like 20 kills and that, so I invested a shitload of time in that. It was ridiculous. And we were on that. We owned servers over there for years, and we loved it when I was younger, but now I've got kids, work and stuff. It really is, as bad as it sounds, I feel like it's a young man's game. Someone who's at college doesn't have responsibilities.
Right.
Because the server's 24/7, shit's active 24/7. You need people on all the time. And you can spend years of your life investing into this build or these things, and then someone can just use the exploit, get rid of it, and it's all gone. And I enjoyed the risk versus reward now, because I went to that Ark from some MMOs that were a bit too casual, so I thought, well, I want something a bit more PvP, a bit more risk versus reward. I went to that, and that is fucking hell. That is so far on the other scale, it's ridiculous. Right. And I enjoyed it, mate, and I loved it. But as I'm getting older and I play more games, I'm like, it's either so far on this direction, so intense, or so casual on the other. Where's the in between? And then it was actually my partner a few minutes said, you've got to check out this game. Look what Ashes of Creation Intrepid's doing.
Hmm.
And as soon as I seen it, I was skeptical, and I thought, this is bollocks. Like, I don't, as bad as it sounds, I just didn't believe it, man.
No,
And
I
then
agree.
yeah, because it's just so many games say they're gonna do stuff, and then more, and they just don't.
Hmm.
And then the more I followed it, I was like, shit, like this is legit, this is perfect. And the more I looked into the systems and the
Hmm.
way, and then find out about Stephen playing the games and actually being an active gamer. And then
Right.
he even talked about, and then I thought, well, what about exploits? And he talked about one time they used an exploit, as bad as it sounds, but he was honest. And I
Right.
thought, this is what we need. We need a guy with a knowledge of exploits. We need a gamer. We need a guy, who's a multi-millionaire, which this doesn't happen. This is a rare thing. So we are
Very
super
rare.
lucky regardless. And I thought, this is perfect. It's trying to get the balance between all these games, and it's kind of not being ignorant. It's listening to the players' feedback. So to me, that was why I said, Ashes is the game. And I do believe Ashes is going to set the bar and the standard for future games, how to balance it. Is there going to be a shitload of issues? Definitely. Is there going to be exploits? Is there going to be bugs? Is there going to be player rises and people dropping off? But I do think in the long run, if Intrepid keep doing what they're doing and Stephen keeps leading the way he is, I reckon we're in for an absolute dynamite game. I think it's going
For
to be
sure.
awesome.
And again, I'm all for exploits, bugs, problems, all that stuff for Alpha 2 and Beta.
Yeah.
I want all that shit completely out of the way whenever the launch of the game happens, because I'm willing to go through those bugs. I spent the money. I know what I'm getting myself into for testing an MMO. I just don't want it to be a New World situation, which I don't think Steven would ever get to that point. But again, most people feel like that, when Alpha 2 comes out, that they're going to rush it out or whatever. And again, those people just don't know the project. They're just talking out of malice for just how they've been treated from other MMO companies. But Steven's not going to do that to himself. He's not going to rush out a game that isn't ready, especially his own game. If there are severe bugs and severe things that need to be fixed and need to take 6 extra months or hell even a year, then Steven's going to take that time. I know he is, because he's not going to put out a shit product. And I think we are in a very rare scenario with like this, multi-millionaire just getting fed up and super
It's insane.
It really
that's why
is.
I didn't play it. I was like, this is bullshit. I'm sorry, but when something's too good to be true, like that's
It usually is.
And then the more I looked at people like, yeah, this is bollocks, man. And I'm like, no, it really isn't. I thought the same. You have to check this out. You've got to watch this stuff. And I do have faith in the project. I think it's going to be awesome. But I don't know. It's just, there's so many different things that could go wrong. And then I think they get unnecessary heat as well. Like talking about the sub cost, I'm happy with the sub cost. Personally, I don't like skins in games too much, especially a game like this. I believe when you earn something and you've got the baddest shit and the most powerful stuff, it should be earned in game. But then at the same time, I understand some of these skins is key to helping them fund the project, pay the devs, keep the game flowing and getting stuff in. So I'm willing to take a step back and say, yeah, I'm fine as long as there's no pay to win. I think truly the only thing that would put me off this game is if they brought, I know it's not going to happen, I think it's super unlikely, but if they went pay to win, that would be the only thing for me that would be like, whoa.
Right.
Because I don't like pay to win, mate, and everything gets burnt by it. I feel like it kind of ruins games. But apart from that, yeah, I don't see them doing much wrong. I think everything they're doing is perfect.
Me too. And again, Narc came out with the video talking about the FOMO Cash Shop. I saw Asmongold's reaction to it. And here's my thing. I'd be a hypocrite if to say, I'm not going to play Ashes of Creation because of, this stupid FOMO Cash Shop. Bro, I played World of Warcraft for 15 years. I also played Final Fantasy 14. I'm not saying that they have FOMO Cash Shop, but they do have a cosmetics cash shop. You know what I mean? And my whole thing is that I just don't want a game that's pay to win. In Final Fantasy, that's not pay to win. There's also other games that aren't pay to win. There's Guild Wars 2 that is kind of pay to win, and then there's World of Warcraft that is definitely pay to win in my opinion. You have BDO, which is pay to win. I don't know how ESO is as far as, is it pay to win, not pay to win? I don't know.
I think they use XP portions and whatnot, but I don't really think it's super pay to win. They use the cash shop, but I don't think it's,
because they have a cosmetics shop, and I think it's very pay to convenience. Like there's a lot of pay to convenience, which in my opinion is just as bad. Like, to be totally honest, I don't like any kind of pay to conveniences, because it's almost like they're forcing you for that convenience. They're going to make it so uncomfortable for you without it that you're gonna get it because it's convenient to have it. If it's more bag space, more bag slots, or bigger bags, or having buffs to your professions, or just whatever it is they want to do. Like, it just, to me, is irky. It's irky business practices. But when I watched that video that Narc did, again, like, I don't have a problem with it. I know people do, but here's my thing: what other MMO are you going to go to that doesn't have it? Like, that's my thing. Like,
it's the weirdest. No, mate, it's
It
like,
is.
as was saying. So I know they said some of it, they classed it as pay to win. Now, I fucking hate pay to win, but you can't class these guys buying skins, because I'm probably going to be one of them guys, and I'm not a skins guy, but some of the skins they're dropping, I am buying. Do you know what I mean? I do enjoy
For
them,
sure.
but that is not pay to win. Like, pay to win is me buying something that when I verse you have a better skill level than me, but I smash you because I've bought all this. I've directly affected my gameplay and my character. That's
Right.
pay to win to me to them extents. But I don't think it is. And yeah, I think everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I'm fine with it. And personally, I think it'll only benefit the game as long as the skins that they say that they're selling are better than the ones we get in game. Now, I'm trusting them on that, but I'm hoping it doesn't. I don't think they will, like, at all, but I understand people's concerns. If them skins are awesome and some of the hardest shit that we've worked months for to get is not as good as them, or it looks lesser, then that's where they're going to have problems. But from what I'm seeing, pretty much everything they're making looks really nice, man.
Oh, dude,
Regardless if this is for me, it looks cool.
I mean, and this is a thing I've always recommended. Like, I mean, again, and I think they're going to go more into their IP later on. I think they're just focusing right now on the MMO. But if we take something like Apocalypse, right? Apocalypse was kind of a debacle in its own right. I'm glad they did it because they were able to fix some major problems on their MMO backend, you know, that they didn't catch until they created Apocalypse. But again, I would love if Steven came out and said, hey guys, we grew the team in a way that's just super beneficial for the MMO. We had a couple people from the team talk to me about a mobile game, and they pitched it to me. And what we're going to do is we're going to monetize the fuck out of this mobile game that they created, and we're going to get rid of the cosmetic shop for Ashes. Like, if they did that, I would be totally on board. Like, yes, give us the mobile game that's monetized to hell and back. Get rid of the cosmetic shop entirely. And I honestly, because again, even though I don't play mobile games, and even though you may not play mobile games, there is a shit ton of people that play mobile games, and it is egregious how much money gets spent on mobile games. So again, I think for the majority of MMO players, I really do think people would really rejoice in that if they knew that, because again, MMOs that are just going off of a sub fee, it's just not realistic for that company to only have a sub fee and then be able to have a complete, like, growing company for an MMO, and that's the only form of income they have. That's just not, we don't live in 2001 anymore. Like, stuff is getting, stuff is getting so expensive, and the most expensive thing is hiring people, like with insurance, 401ks, salaries, especially to stay competitive in a state like California. Like, you got to pay people, and
keeping them people,
and so what exactly keeping them. So you can't just, like, people get so mad about all these other practices of monetary things, but like, you need them, and I think people just don't understand that. And I think if we could have a free to play game that's just as awesome as Ashes of Creation, and you never have to pay a single dime to that company, how would they even survive? Like, how would that company even stay afloat? Like, it would not. So I think for me, like, as much as I don't like it, right? Because again, even though I've had it in other games, but like World of Warcraft, the way that the community handles it when it comes to having really good mounts that get released to the cash shop, or cosmetics that get released to the cash shop, the overall community kind of doesn't classify them as good. Like, if you buy those things, that's fine, but like for transmog competitions, that's like Asmongold does, like, they don't put on the mount that they bought from the cosmetic shop. They'll be laughed out of the freaking room. Like, oh my God, you got on a mount that you bought? Like, LOL, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, or Keck W, or whatever the new LOL is nowadays. I'm so old, I don't even know. But my whole thing is that the community already polices that, and they know which is the very exclusive in-game items that people are going to be going for. So I think at the end of the day, like, it's like if you could I don't know, like buy gold at like $1, the gold's not gonna be valuable. Like it just isn't. And so with those cosmetic cash shops, to a lot of people, the worth of them is going to be to zero, because they know that if you create this really awesome animal husbandry mount that takes like a shit ton of time and people know it's a bitch to freaking do, and you finally get that mount, that's going to be way more prestigious than any mount you bought
100%.
in the cosmetic shop.
And this is what I'll be going at, stuff like that. I think Asman made a good point though. It was like, you know, the guys who are younger don't know any better. They're so used to, especially teenagers,
right?
They're so used to this shit and these you know, all these pay to win bollocks. They accept it as part of it. Whereas us being older, we remember when it wasn't the case.
Right.
But he said, you know, now we've got money, we kind of accept it because, you know, we just go along with it. So I kind of get what he's saying, but I think Ashes is, I'm happy with it. Like, if it doesn't go too far, keep the skins, keep the cosmetics, and if it helps fund and pay people, like, at the end of the day, if you're working for a company and say Stephen's not making enough because he's self-funding this, but eventually he's going to have to start making a shitload of profit. He can't keep pulling out of his back pocket. He's maybe a multi-millionaire, but it's not infinite cash flow. Well, I imagine it isn't, but who knows. But then you've got to pay these people. So if that starts dipping and they're like, I love this game, this game's awesome, I want to work for this company, but something ain't right with the income. If they've got a family, even if it was me, I'd have to go if someone offered me elsewhere. So he's got to keep that team there and he's got to keep the cash coming in. So it's more about than just us, the players. It's about the business and the economics, and on that level, do you know what I mean? Stuff what we don't think about that the outside doesn't really look at. It's not as simple as Stephen just having a cash shop. It's about keeping the income coming in a non like shitty way, and I think that's what we're trying to balance.
Well, and here's my thing too, is that you have a corporate company like Walmart, right? It's all over the world, or McDonald's, and then you have like a local restaurant like Joe's Diner, and Joe's Diner is freaking amazing. They have good burgers, they have good customer service when you go in there. It just feels different than McDonald's. Like, that's how I treat Intrepid. Intrepid is the Joe's Diners, and you have McDonald's, which is like Activision Blizzard or Bethesda or, you know, NCSoft or, you know, whatever company, right? And there's this level of passion and customer service that Intrepid is doing, and that's why I support them. Like, that's why I try to buy as much as I can from them. Not because, I mean, you can call me a shill, you can call me whatever you want, but I find this company to be so passionate for the MMO space and for their employees and their players that are, the game's not even out yet, but they are like, they message people on Facebook, on Twitter. They answer so much feedback questions on the forums. Like, this is
insane.
It is. And again, it's just when we've come from games that don't care at all.
Yeah, devs and the community management is fucking shit. I'm so used to it.
No, yeah, exactly. And so that's why I choose to support them. And again, I don't care for cosmetics. Like, I don't. But again, I am still going to play the fuck out of Ashes of Creation, even with the FOMO cash shop. I don't care, because they're doing everything else correctly. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and when you go, like, okay, you're not going to play Ashes, then what are you going to go play? Like, okay, if you say Final Fantasy, I can't really argue there, because again, they don't have any pay to win stuff, but they have a huge cosmetic library. You know what I'm saying? So you say you hate cosmetics, but yet you're going to play another MMO that has cosmetics. It's like, how big of a hypocrite are you? You know what I'm saying?
The community management on this game that isn't even out, mate. Like, so we're going up to Alpha 2. Is better than most games I'm involved with. It is ridiculous. Like, the way that if they can continue this, and clearly they can, because there's no game in the community. I'm constantly checking their social medias. I'm following their stuff. It's got me interested. So if they're doing that and Alpha 2's not even out, you know, they're definitely on the right track, and you can see the following, mate, and the hype they've got. So I think the community management's bang on. Margaret Crone and whoever else is behind the lines doing it, they're doing an awesome job.
Yeah,
so
and
it's refreshing to see.
I know Margaret gets a lot of hate for some unknown reason. Like, again,
really though.
It's
bullshit.
It is, in my opinion. Like, I mean, and again, I try to follow as much as I can, and I know sometimes when people are mad with her, it's because maybe it's like something interpersonal within a forum post, or maybe like a stream happened, or I don't know. But all I know is that from what because I've actually had communication with her, like, and so every time I've reached out to her, even just to say thank you, I said a thank you to Steven, and I said a thank you to Margaret. And Margaret responded, Steven did not, but it's okay. Steven is a busy dude. I'm sure he gets thousands, if not more, messages on his Discord. But I just said a thank you to him because I just feel like he's doing something that I've always wanted someone to do. Because I know if I hit, some like lottery and I got like multi-millions of dollars to me, I would probably do what Steven's doing. But I'm not smart enough. Like he was in a position where he was in California and he had friends, because this is what the story he said, that worked for MMO companies, like and they were always talking about MMOs and talking about creating games, and Steven's just like, well, why don't we just do it and I'll fund the damn thing. And that's how it happened. Like, I don't have that personal privilege. I'd be starting from a complete scratch. He did not have to start. Well, he did start from scratch, but he had definitely leg ups on getting certain employees, certain people to like help him get into the community of developers, which was awesome.
Having his own guild as well and the connections, because I know some of the guilds we talked to played with him and that, and
right,
knowing them who follow all these community managers and all these devs, you straight away getting the right information and you're saying, oh well, this guy was good at this,
right.
So I think that he's also got the business experience. That's another thing about Steven that
true.
I've seen some folks saying about how they were doing the money and whatnot and how they'd run it, but it's like Steven, like me, I'm not I don't do stocks, or I think he done rental properties and a bunch of other shit,
right.
mate. So he really was deep into business. So not only have you got a guy that knows the ins and out of a game, you've got a guy that's made millions and clearly fucking knows how the business side of it works. So whenever he's doing stuff, and sometimes I'm like, well, what's going on there? It's like, I know he knows more than me. He sees the bigger picture, and he'll be thinking about his employees. He'll be thinking long game, because he doesn't just think month to month. You can tell he's thinking years down the line. He's really organized. You can't get in that position without being a master strategist and thinking ahead. So all these things he'll be thinking of. I think he's overall to benefit the game, to look after himself, to look after the staff and the devs, and the way he talks about it, that's another thing that draws me to Ashes. The one thing I wouldn't go to Blizzard for is because of all the toxic shit that came around it, and the way some of the people, especially some of the lasses who were getting treated there, was awful.
Right.
And it's nice to see, not only do you have this awesome company, and I know a lot of folk don't care about that, they're just playing a game, but for me and a lot of the guys I play with, it's about how the devs are treated. And if the devs are treated good, and that's a good environment, you will, just from that, get a better game. People want to come to work, they want to be motivated, they want to get shit done. But if they're coming in feeling like they're going to be sexually harassed, or they're feeling like shit and depressed, we've all had it with bad jobs, the game's, it's going to affect the game. So what he's doing on so many levels, he's bang on. And if they can maintain that, because I imagine they are on some like insane amount of stress with these deadlines, they won't be showing it, but in the background there's a lot of stress going on. If he can keep it flowing the way he does, I think it's going to be perfect for the game, mate, and the future.
Right. I mean, I don't know anybody that works for Intrepid specifically, but just in how, they talk about, the environment and everything like that. And it really shows, because again, like, I think with Steven and how everything's been going on, like, there seems to be a very huge camaraderie there. And even if you were to look at like the the Halloween time when they do the charity stuff, I've watched every single one. It's so fun, and I love everything that they have. Like, the camaraderie is definitely there. And
it's like they're not looking for the boss, like they're just there as mates. It's good to see, man, because they're just having a laugh. And I know when they need to get shit done, they'll do it, but that's the environment you want for the game environment. Right.
And I think that's what's going to be causing very healthy work to happen, because they want to go to work, they want to make this game as best as they can. And again, they're listening to the community, which is, I think, is such a great touch, to sprinkling in those things that the community also wants, but also keeping firm to their values, right, of what Ashes in general is going to be. I did want to switch the conversation a little bit, because I think that was like a good stopping point, but I did want to talk to you about combat, because combat is something that I feel is very much like on the tip of everybody's tongue. People want and are itching for some form of combat. I recently came out with a video talking about combat resources, because I think that definitely plays a huge part into the overall conversation of combat and how the flow of combat needs to be. I don't think we live in an era anymore where after you kill a single mob, you need to drink a mana potion and sit on the floor for 20 seconds to replenish your mana. I don't think we live in a day and age where that's fun. I think that's very boring and keeps the you playing the game in a very fun and just a fun and engaging way. So I'm really curious, first of all, like where you sit when it comes to tab versus action. I'm very curious to see how you feel about the 64 class system. Just what do you feel about all that?
So for me, the reason I haven't done it, as you say, I've made some 3D crafting videos on PvP, but I haven't really jumped in. And realistically, if I wanted to grow and get better views, I should be jumping into the stuff you're doing and talking about the PvP. But I don't really know at the minute, mate, because
What's true, we don't.
I think it's like I don't know personally what I think or what I want at the minute. Because say for example, I like some of Guild Wars playing. I enjoy the combat there. But then at the same time, I know this is totally not what Ashes is going to be. Everyone shits on New World's combat, mate, but I enjoyed it at first. Now I don't play it anymore because of all the issues, but I enjoyed the combat. When I say that, people like, you dickhead, but it's like, no, I enjoyed playing the game, and I bought, it was like 35 quid, got my combat out of that, and I enjoyed it. But then after a bit, we're talking about a game that should be going 15, 20 years. It can't be that simplified. So they need something really unique. And the tab, the hybrid combat tab action, I don't know. I really don't know how I see it playing out, because they said 2 to 3 months, don't they? So Margaret said in the comments we should see an improved version. And as bad as it sounds, mate, when I watch, like, say, for example, I don't know if you've seen Medex's videos, you see his PvP. I like the look of it. Now, I know a lot of people had issues with it, but I didn't mind some of the combat I've seen there. I know it wasn't flushed out, and I know it needs improved, and it's by far not a finished product. But if they can add to that and just tweak it, but then they said there's a new prototype, so to me that says have that added to Alpha 1 combat that we've seen, or have they made a new one? Because new prototype could mean a lot of things. Is it totally brand new, or is it just tweaked what we've seen in Alpha 1? And there's a lot of people saying it's totally new, a lot of people saying no, it's the same, just customized. So I don't know, mate. That's why I'm waiting to see how it plays out and see if we get a stream in the next 2 months or 3 months, and that's when I'll probably jump into videos and stuff on it.
Well, for sure. I think overall the conversation has been around combat for a long time, right? I think ever since Alpha 1 ended. I mean, I guess this is my whole thoughts on the Alpha 1 combat. It's a great foundation, in my opinion, because I think most people are like, oh no, the combat was shit. No, it really kind of wasn't. Like the way the animation spells for mages, the casting spells, how it felt to push the buttons, the melee combat I feel was probably the most contentious. But again, I think once they went to split body, again, very good foundational melee combat. Now, I think there's only going to needing to be very slight tweaks. Like, I don't know what people are really wanting from combat, like in that sense, because again, from the foundational combat they gave in Alpha 1, you don't need to have this complete evolution of combat after, you know what I'm saying? You just need to add upon the things that worked in Alpha 1 combat wise and just make them a little bit more efficient, make them better. But I think what people are saying without saying it is they're looking more for the classes. They want the classes to be in depth. They want a lot of different options of customization for abilities, augments, the talent trees. That's what they're really wanting. But I think over tonality with the combat, I think is actually really good, in my opinion. And especially for a tech alpha that was, I mean, Alpha 1 was, in my opinion, a tech alpha, because there was a lot of stuff they were testing more on the back end and front end stuff. But they were just also testing other things too, and combat was definitely one of them. So I don't know. I feel like I am fine with a hybrid system. I am fine. My whole thing is that I always think of healers, because I play a healer in World of Warcraft, and for a lot of the games that I've seen, action for healing is gross. It's complete dog shit. And I think that there needs to be.
My missus was saying that. See, she's always a healer. I don't play healer, but she said the exact same thing.
Right. And that's my thing. And again, if they can, I want them to nail the hybrid system. I really do, because I would probably stick more to the tab side. But again, I would only stick to the tab side for more of my range caster healer kind of roles. I love playing action combat when it comes to melee. Like if you give me a rogue, you give me a warrior, you give me a tank, I'll play action combat all day on that. But again, that's why I think the evolution overall for not just Ashes of Creation, but for MMOs going forward, I think a hybrid system is in order, because I think people want a variation of combat. And sometimes, again, you can be a diehard action person, but I also think of Ashes of Creation when it comes to sieges, right? If they nail the 500 versus 500 combat,
it's gonna be crazy,
dude. So the lag, I think of the lag, and then I think of action, right? You think of being a ranger, and you're gonna get pissed off because your ping is like 137 ms because there's like 400 people on your screen, and you're trying to aim and shoot, and you're always missing because the freaking lag is like that slight to where you think you hit them, but they're always missing. That's gonna piss you the hell off. And I think in a tab setting, because I think, again, 137 ms is not terrible lag. It's not great, but it's not 500 ms. It's not 1000 ms. You know what I'm trying to say? So, but that slight lag when it comes to action, like targetable, like, you know, positioning of the crosshairs, you would be getting very upset and having to adjust for lag, because it's the same thing for first-person shooters. Whenever you're playing anything above 100 ms for first-person shooters, it's terrible. It's not good. It's not great fun. And so, I think people just have a lot of misconceptions with having these action Andes, as I call them, that are like, oh, they just need to go all action, just do all action. It's like, bro,
no,
it ain't gonna
like
work,
BDO,
man.
isn't it? No, but because I can't fault, but I'm not a fan of BDO massively, but I played it, and I think the action combat in there is really fun and enjoyable. But if you put that in Ashes of Creation, it would just fuck it. It just would not work. It's
Right.
like, yeah, I think you need. I'm just hoping they can pull off. Like, they know what they're doing. Steven knows what he's doing and stuff. I'm hoping they can pull off a decent hybrid. But
Right.
as for the 500 v 500, yeah, there's going to be shitloads of, like, that's another reason why I already am with Unreal Engine 5 and future games. I've started beefing up my computer already. I'm waiting for the 40 series to come out, because as soon as I went Unreal Engine 5, I thought, this potato ain't running shit, you know, I need to upgrade. But I think with the 500 v 500, you're going to get a bit of lag.
That's true.
But with the way they talk about it, I think they're trying to spread it out. I think everyone's got this image of 500 v 500 just legging it at each other and then going to war. I'm hoping the way it's done is it's changed and there's different areas, so we kind of spread out. But then inevitably, at some point, you're going to have what you're saying, these massive zergs coming together. Right. And then how is that going to be handled? How is the lag going to play into that? Because you are right, it will be a fucking ball ache if you're trying to shoot and you're pinging everywhere. You are right, it's not going to be fun. And this is why I'm saying, mate, there's so much shit this game's going on. It's so much potential. But there's just so many problems and so many balancing issues. And that's why you know they are going to be so stressed trying to get all this shit together. Right. And as for combat, I think what we see in Alpha 2, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months they get a good reception, and because if they don't, I would not be shocked if they massively delay it and go back to the drawing board or something. Hopefully they get a good reception, we get to Alpha 2, we get to test it out, but over a year, 2, 5, 6 years, I think it's just going to keep changing, mate. I really do feel like they might not just kind of have one combat, it'll just constantly tweak and be changed. But I could be wrong there, mate. Maybe they'll get it flawless. The foundations from Alpha 1 have been built upon, and we just get this dynamite combat. But I just think it's a really tricky thing, if not the most tricky thing in the game, because that's something you're doing. This is a PvP based game. This shit combat has to be bang on. If the combat's shit and no one enjoys it, it's a PvP game. Like and even with the PvE, they have to enjoy the combat. So that's why I'm kind of reserving some of my opinions, because I don't know how it's going to play out, man. But I did like Alpha 1. And from some of the, unfortunately I wasn't in it, which is a bit shit, but you know, Alpha 2,
me
so
too.
I've been no life in that. I won't be coming off the game.
But
Alpha 1 combat is a good foundation. But then if they went other way, they've built a full prototype and it's totally different. That's why I'm so hyped to see it, mate, in 2 or 3 months. If I don't see it in 2 or 3 months, I'll probably be crying, because I know they're just gonna, they've got to show something, mate. They've got to give us some type of
they will
info, anything, yeah. But I don't, obviously they can't rush it now. I don't want them, you know, them getting hit and everyone's saying give combat now, but it's like, just give them time, man. Because if they bring out something you're complaining that you want the combat now, and they bring out something that's shit, you're going to complain. So they need time to perfect it, man, or at least get it on par.
The one thing of why I'm actually not worried for combat personally is because Steven, and I think the majority of the developers working in the game, are all MMO players.
Yeah.
I think it would be so remiss if I was an MMO player and I'm also a developer, but then I just forget how it feels as an MMO player, how combat feels. I believe if they know they have a shit system, they know like this feels terrible. You know what I'm saying? I never felt that way with Blizzard or whatever. I felt like they just don't fucking play the game anymore. Like they don't care. You know, that's what I always felt.
Money went to the head.
But
and suits.
Right. So I feel like if there was something that was just like, if Steven's like, dude, the Ranger feels disgusting, and these are all the reasons why it feels disgusting, I feel like they're having those internal discussions. Like, so for me, I don't feel worried as to how I wouldn't say the final combat, but whatever the combat they do show us eventually, I'm really not worried, because I have a feeling that it's actually going to be really good. The reason why I say that is because if you look at the character creator and just the glow up that freaking thing did from Alpha 1 to what they showed us, holy crap. That was... I was just
fucking insane. Sam, I was not expecting that at all.
Dude, I was
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. I was just like, what the hell is going on here? This is insane. And this is not even the final. It's not even its final form.
But this is why I think they're further ahead, mate. Like, everyone's thinking that Alpha 2 is going to be decent, but I'm not trying to, like Steven said he doesn't want White Knights, and people have said to me on your videos, maybe bring in some more negatives, say some negative, and I'm like, I can't really fucking find any, because at this stage for me to start giving all these negatives, it would be unfair because it's leading till Alpha 2. But yeah, the character creator was a shock to me, and I was like, good shock, it was decent. But I feel like with that standard, I think there's a lot more systems. I think they're further along than people actually believe. And I think when we see the combat and we see other things, I reckon we're going to get the same reaction as the character creator. I think Steven's thinking of Alpha 2 as not Alpha 2 like the standard devs would. He's thinking of it as like, when I drop this, we are the most anticipated game, I would say, not just MMO. In fucking years, and these people want to come here. We can't fuck this up. So I don't think we're waiting for the standard Alpha 2, and I'm hopefully not hyping it up too much, man. Maybe it will just be an Alpha 2, but I feel like it's going to be better than most games that are out now, and it's going to be a ridiculous standard. I do, mate, and I know that sounds bad, but I'm playing so many games, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? What happened to MMOs? And don't get us wrong, I love playing with Guild Wars and, you know, a few other things, but something needs to change, and I'm hoping with the Alpha 2, and I think he does right being patient if he has to push it back. Because even if it is an Alpha 2, you're going to get guys not judging this as an Alpha 2. You will get guys treating it like a finished game. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way he is, and I understand if that's the way he's going to go at it. And hopefully it does turn out awesome.
Right. And I think with Alpha 2, I think originally I was saying, oh, Alpha 2 is going to come out in the summer. I feel like they were going to make this announcement soon and be like, oh, hey guys, boom, summer announcement. I've now changed my tune. I was completely wrong, and I'm fine. You can say, hey, Vlhadus, you're wrong. You were wrong. Hey, that's fine.
Well, we talked about this, man. We discussed it. So everyone's got their own opinion. Say, I'm still stuck with, I said November, December, but then I thought, there's no way they can drop Alpha 2 in December. I was delusional, because if they drop Alpha 2 in December, we've all got work, we've got kids, families, school.
Right.
It's just such a crazy time for people to be testing. So November, I think, is still possible. I haven't totally give up on it, but I feel like if it doesn't come in November, you're probably thinking next year now. I'm thinking probably January and February, but maybe it's just thinking that I want it. Yeah, you're probably right, mate. But there's just part of me that's just like, please drop it in November. I need something to fucking play.
No, yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. Like, I would love to play Ashes, and again, I think my whole thing is that with how they've always done the end of the year announcements, like if you go back and watch like all of the December live streams, they've always announced something major. And I feel like, look at how they just delayed the character creator. Steven was talking about the character creator in December of last year, saying in January we're going to release it. Then January came, we didn't get it. They delayed it again. We didn't get it in February, and then we finally got it in March. So that was just the character creator. This is going to be like Alpha 2. This is like all the things. So my whole thing is that even if they are internally at a very good point in November or even September, they're going to purposefully delay it, because if they did announce it in, let's say, August and said, hey, in October we're releasing Alpha 2, like, again, they can do that. I'm not saying they can't, but I think they would purposefully delay it, just to say like, hey, we are at a very good point. Let's do more spot testing, because we haven't even started spot testing yet for the in-betweens between Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 yet. If they do more spot testing to check out some really good Like, we need to specifically test this thing because we've noticed internally that these we get like the world screen comes up, the world server goes down when we do this specifically. We need to find that out, and so that way we can have the best possible A2 experience for everybody. Like, and I think that's what they're going to do, because at the end of the day, like, people, that's what people want right now. Like, that's, everybody is more so than combat everything, people want Alpha 2. So I think they are going to purposely delay it. I think they're going to delay it, and they're going to announce it in December's live stream, and they're probably going to release it probably in March of next year.
No, you could be right. A good Christmas present would be for me to just give me Alpha 2 in November. But I know it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, they'll probably fucking drop it in December, like you're saying, because it's still massive hype. It's still going to build up the game. And then hopefully we see it early next year. And yeah, do you know what? When we, as a guild, like my guild gone in, we're already ready to just test everything, find any exploit, find any bug. So I'm hoping all the people going in, we're going to enjoy it and love the game, but I'm hoping everyone's ready to just test the fuck out of it to make sure when it gets to the beta 1 stages, things are just ready to go. And I think it's going to be good for content creators like us, mate, because I think I can survive just about till January, February with content. But you know, it's a fair bit there, but I reckon it'll be all right. I'm just looking forward to getting in and getting some decent content. And yeah, I'm hoping the community keeps going the way it is, because I feel like the community is getting a lot more positive. Like, even on Reddit, I got told to avoid Reddit, mate, because it's intense at times. But I feel like everything's getting... Yeah, definitely. When I first went there, mate, it was super toxic. But I just stuck it out, and now I have some great conversations. And I'm hoping that's the way the community talking a totally different thing. I hope the community goes that way. That's one thing I can't fault Final Fantasy for. The community over there is sound, man. Like,
for sure.
I've never met anybody who was crazy toxic. But what do you think about the politics in the games, mate? Are you ready for Ash's politics and the drama there and all the crazy wars and stuff? That shit's gonna be nuts,
dude. Yeah, man. Like, I think that in general is gonna be the biggest draw for people to play Ash as a creation, is because people thrive on drama. I mean, hell, look at the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing that's happening right now around the world.
I like it, but it's too much. Every fucking, even as Ben Gold, I'm like, what the fuck are you even doing gaming anymore? It's just Johnny Depp. But I suppose depending, she brought it on herself, but fuck me, I can't escape. Even in work, I turn on, someone's got it on the phone, I'm like, there's no escape.
That's what I'm saying. Right? People love drama. And so you think about it, for like the biggest Twitch streamers or biggest personalities for MMOs, you have Asmon's guild that's like plotting something behind the scenes, and then like you have another big guild with like another huge streamer. Dude, all of that drama is going to be so juicy for people to watch unfold. The gameplay, it's going to be great, and the game is designed for it. It's designed for all this drama and all this like backstabby, Game of Thronesy kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And I think that's what's really going to sell, more so than the node system. People say the node system is going to be this thing. I honestly feel the drama of Ash's creation is going to sell Ash's creation, personally.
Well, coming from like Ark, mate, some of the biggest wars are like, so if you get someone in your tribe and you've got this is where I'm happy with my guild, because trust me, if you get someone in the tribe that's wrong, they can take everything. And I know it isn't as hard with the security systems in Ashes, but they can totally destroy it. But also, you can have a guy with an altar on Ashes who's in another guild, who's playing, and he's not even in your guild, he's just sifting for information because they're prepping on the siege. There's so much fucked up shit that can go on, and that's why you'll need to be in a good alliance, you'll need to be in a trustworthy alliance, and you need to have a good guild. For me, I'm going to try and avoid the drama as much as I can, and just kind of, I know it'll come, mate. It was the same in Ark, but we done good with, you know, we were always a part of the drama because it's part of the game, but we done good staying back and trying to maintain an even playing field. Because the problem is with guilds that go hardcore at the drama, and to Game of Thrones, like Joffrey of Game of Thrones, some shit, they inevitably fall, mate, no matter after massive ones. And we had guys that were fucking 15 to one of us, and they were huge, but they you know, they go faster than they burn out. But no, I think it's fun, mate, and I do think it's going to be decent. And obviously it's a bit different than other games I've played, even though they were intense on that side, because of the active GMs, and they're saying about, you know, if they have GMs actively enforced and stuff. And I feel like some games, the active GMs against exploit or toxicity, when it gets too far, you know, racism and really going overboard, they're pretty shit. But I feel like Steven and his team might be a little bit better at that. Maybe that's too wishful thinking, but I do feel like they'll be on level, so there might be a nice even balance. And plus with the community as well, mate. Don't get us wrong, I've had heated debates, we all have, and you see them, but I don't think they're too super toxic. Like coming from a game like fuck me, that shit's toxic. Ashes definitely gets heated, but I feel like the players are on a different level, and even though it's super PvP focused, I do have faith that the community is going to be decent. So we'll have the drama, but I don't think it'll stem too far. That's my hope, anyways, man.
Right. And so just to kind of, I'm not a fan of text messages. I rarely text my wife like anything outside than yes, no, I'm headed here, just very short statements, because I don't like, you can interpret a text in any emotion.
If you don't,
in any emotion. I can read a text in a very sad way. I can read it in a very happy way, in an angry way. And again, it's all about how you feel and how you want to interpret the text message. And I think that's where, because again, just because someone replies to you and disagrees with you, it doesn't mean that they're being toxic. It's just they're trying to hopefully properly explain why they disagree with you. And I think that's where the vitriol comes from, as maybe sometimes on Reddit or even in the Ashes forums, is because people don't like to be disagreed with. They want everyone to agree with them. But even when it comes to my videos, I have takes that people disagree with. I always try to explain myself in a way that's like, hey, I see your point. I just still disagree because, I agree with what I believe. You know what I mean? And that's fine. We can always agree to disagree. And I think that's the whole beauty of it. I just think it's just how other people then read something and then they start shit talking.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Agree,
it's just so stupid.
Bad. Like, it's immature because I've had it so we have loads of heated debates when we're in Discord or even on videos or Reddit or whatnot.
Right.
And I love it, mate. It goes back and forth. But every now and again, I haven't had it too bad, but every now and again I see one guy and it's like, well, he's disagreeing, he's made a valid point. And then you've just went at his throat. At that point, he's not attacking you, man. But then there's a difference. Obviously, you get these guys that come on and they're just absolute dicks. But they're, far and few between. There's not many of them these days on Ashes from what I see.
Right.
But then I haven't been too active on the Discord lately. But no, I don't know. I've faith around a lot of stuff in this game, and I think it's going in the right direction. Hopefully, we can, as content creators as well, I think that's our responsibility, mate. As stupid as it sounds, I really think we need to be shaping that, and rather than dipping into the toxicity or any of that politics, we kind of just need to keep discussions going. And if I disagree with you, or you disagree with me, there's always a middle ground there that we can kind of get there. And I think that's the way it should go. And hopefully it does, mate.
Right. I completely agree. I think it's just a matter of I've always been a person that's been very in control of my emotions. I don't get easily angry. I've never been that way. I've always been pretty chill. So when I see somebody and it looks like they're getting angry, I always, respectfully say like, hey, this is how I feel or whatever. I completely see your point, because I think a lot of times people just want to be acknowledged in their point. And whenever you just disregard their point entirely and say, oh no, you're wrong, I think that's where the vitriol comes in. However,
I agree.
I do want to ask you this, and this is kind of a weird point to maybe end our conversation on, but I've always seen this thing where people say that Ashley Creation isn't meant for the family guy, the guy that's has a wife, kids, a job, like, because they're only going to be able to play Ashes for like an hour or 2 hours a day, maybe. Like, this game isn't for them, and because it's like that, there needs to be barriers in the game that hold everyone to this 1 or 2 hour gameplay loop so that no one gets ahead of them. Now, I'm a family man. You're a family man.
Yeah.
I can almost already hear what you're about to say, but what do you think about that?
So for me, mate, I've got 3 kids, work full time. I go gym, I train because I was a personal trainer. I try and keep a balanced lifestyle. And even with me doing all this, I still can play the games a lot. It's just about planning, mate. And if you put the time aside, like, I'm going to be no life in Ashes, but I do think with balance, if you can only get on a game 1 or 2 hours a day, or maybe 5 hours through the week, 6 hours, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I don't think there should be put in place things in there where it's going to limit the guys who can play more. Because I'm a family man. I can free up time and I'll be no life in this game. As sad as it is, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be really going at it.
Me too.
No, I don't think you need hand holding. Like, if you can only play, as bad as it sounds, mate, maybe 3 or 4 hours, and you don't feel like you're making the progression, is it really worth paying that sub? every
Right.
month if you can only get in a little bit. Is this game actually for you? And I'm not saying don't play. Like if you can only play 3 4 hours, that's totally fine, man. But I wouldn't start being angry at the game because I don't think it's built that way. But then again,
Right.
you might be able to get substantial. Maybe you can get a tavern and you can have your freehold within a guild and you just come on 3 4 hours a week and you run these things within the guild. We've got a lot of PvEers ourselves. But no, I don't think handhold them for guys that can only get on 3 or 4 or 5 hours a week is the way to go, man. That's just my opinion. You know, I could probably get pitchforks at us, but it's just how I feel, mate. If I've got the time to play, everyone could.
No, for sure. And I'm sure you're going to take time off like I am. I'm probably going to take 2 weeks off whenever Ashes comes.
I've got my manager was saying, "There's like, Peter, we need you fucking in at least." I'm like, "Mate, I'm keeping 2 weeks. I've put the 4 week in, 2 week is staying. I don't know when it's going to be, but I won't be in work."
Oh, for sure. And here's my thing. Like the way I kind of see it is I know there's going to be people that are going to play 18 or 16 hours a day. And even though I won't be able to, like, outside of my vacation, I'm fine with that. Like, my whole thing is that I want to play a game where I feel invested in. That is my biggest beef with MMOs right now, is that I play and I don't feel invested. I don't feel invested in the story.
Come on straight after work.
Yeah.
Get in there.
It's just, it doesn't do it for me. And with Ashes, like, the more time, like, okay, I have to play more strategically, right? If I'm going to play more limitedly, then the things I have to do in game, I have to prepare for and I have to do. And I'm excited for those things. I'm not going to be that dad gamer that's going to be upset that, oh, I have to spend 30 minutes of my time traveling, or I have to do this or that. Well, that's just a part of the game. You know what I mean?
Just be efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be efficient with everything you do.
Just
organize, plan, prepare. Make sure you're working with, you know, decent guys. You've got a decent guild. Maybe join a bigger guild if you can't do it in a small guild.
Exactly.
And there's too much. Go for one of the Zergs. And I know the Zergs are getting shit on the minute, or the small guys. But, you know, go for one of these Zergs. Like, personally, our guild at the minute's going to be about 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
But I might expand that to get in more, because I've got a few mates that want to play a bit more casual, so I might expand out a bit.
Right.
But I think, yeah, that's an option. Go for the Zergs if you don't have the time. This game is definitely for everyone, and that's why I was not to go on too much, because we've been talking for ages and we're ending up. But I feel like the fucking casuals are getting pushed away, and it's meant out to be more hardcore. But I feel like the more I look into it, this game is for everyone. I genuinely believe that, and people are going to say, "Oh, you talk shit. It's just they're going to get ganked and PvEs won't survive." If you haven't got PvEs in your guild, you won't survive. If you haven't got PvPs, you won't survive. There's got to be sync there. Like it works perfectly balanced together. So I do feel like every part of this game has something for everyone, whether you're casual or whether you're a hardcore player. That is honestly my opinion. I think what people think Ashes is going to play out like is totally different when we actually see it. And hopefully, this is like with my videos, I'm always trying to go on the far end to try and bring in more of these casuals, because I see so many people saying it won't be casual friendly, but there's so many systems here that will help with some casual friendly stuff. It will be a hardcore game, but I feel like it's well balanced, and I think with them doing that at the beginning right now, imagine where they're going to be in 2-3 years if they're already thinking about this and trying to get all these different guild sizes and put these mechanics in place.
Right.
I think we're at a good spot right now, definitely.
No, I completely agree. I think it's just, I know what I'm getting myself into, and I know, especially if Ashes can keep its vision the way it is, like I am so looking forward to that, because there's so many games where in one day you play like 8 or 10 hours and there's really nothing else for you to do anymore, and it's like you ate all the content in a day. Ashes is not going to be that way, and that's why I'm excited about it, because there's going to be so much investment in so many different ways. Like, you haven't even touched the naval combat, or you haven't even gone to this area yet. You haven't got a caravan over here, or you haven't interacted with this guild war yet, or whatever the case is. There's
you've been gone for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. You've come back to your node. That node ain't there anymore, mate. It's gone. It's wiped. Go move on. Find something, figure out what's going on. It's so different than any other MMO.
It's gonna be insane. So like, that's to me why I feel super excited for Ashes comparatively to a lot of other MMOs, is the fact that the world's always going to be changing. Like how day one's going to be compared to day 30, compared to day 90, compared to day 360, you know, or whatever it is. Like the node progression is going to be so much fun to do, and to see the evolution just evolve before your eyes. It's going to be freaking amazing, because we've never experienced that in any MMO. So
That's without the DLCs as well. Like, this is the
right.
base game we're talking about. Imagine that 5-6 years down the
Right.
line with what Steven probably has fucking planned. God knows what play. Like, Unreal Engine 5, mate, it's going to unlock a lot. So I think it's going to be awesome.
Right. So as I just want to say this, dude, thank you so much, because I know you're so infinitely busy with everything. I'm really appreciative that you're able to finally get in contact with me and do this 1v1 with me. I had an amazing time, man. It's always great talking with you.
You too, man. We'll do it again at some point. And,
Oh, for sure. Hopefully
maybe
when
in Alpha 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say
PTSD, Alpha 2 experience. How will we cope mentally with it all? Let's
for
see how that
sure.
goes.
For sure. So where can people find you when it comes to, like, do you have, like, I know I'm gonna link your YouTube, but do you have like Twitch, or because I know you're the guild leader of Nephilim, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
we've got a community Discord, kind of. Well, I'm turning the guild one into a community Discord, so it's kind of a bit. I think it's just better, man, because it's good conversations.
Okay.
I do use Twitter a lot. Twitch, I'm not really using yet. I'm planning on waiting until Alpha 2 drops. So mainly YouTube, Twitter, Discord. Yeah, I don't really have many of the socials. Maybe I should, mate. Maybe we'll get too old, but no, they're the socials I use: Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and
Okay.
that's kind of where I do all my stuff. And sometimes you'll see us lurking on the forums.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna make sure, guys, if you want to go and follow Azrial, I'm gonna put his links in the description below. So go give him a sub, like his content, follow him. He's a great content creator for Ashes. I love his perspectives on things. So please go and support him. And again, my name is Vlhadus. That is Azrial on this 1v1, and we will see you guys in the next one.